What's going on, everybody? I am here to do a review for the movie The Black Phone. This is a movie I've actually been interested in seeing ever since I saw a first trailer for it late last year. Now, the movie was originally supposed to come out in February of this year, but for some reason or another, they pushed it back. I guess it's because at the time, those movie numbers were still up there, and they were worried that the movie wouldn't do well in the box office. So they ended up pushing it back and made a movie that was going to be a February winter release and ended up making it a June summer release. Either way, that's what they ended up having to do. So basically, what this movie, first off, this movie is starring Ethan Hawke, who, in my opinion, plays crazy villainy very well. As many people, if you watched Moon Knight on Disney Plus, he did a fairly decent job in playing in that role. And he played creepy and villainy very well in this. And I kind of knew he was going to go there with it when I saw the trailers for it, and I was really unaware of what was going on. Like that's what I kind of like with a trailer. The trailer tells a little bit, but you don't really know too much. And this is a Blumhouse production, so you know when it comes to them, they can go all in or sometimes a little bit in and a little out. But with this one, they kind of went in with it, especially with the story. So the movie takes place in 1978 in Denver, in North Denver, Colorado. And you have this boy who his name in the movie, his name is Finney. He goes to school. He plays on the baseball team. Pretty, average kid, but he's kind of a loner in some aspect, except for when he's on the team. People do know who he is. He has a sister whose name is Gwenny, and one thing I can say about this movie with the kids, I don't know who wrote their lines, but you can tell that the kids probably had some fun with some of the stuff that they were saying or coming out of their mouths. I mean, I'm talking about these kids was cussing up a storm. It's just crazy how all of that happened. But they go to school, they live with their dad. Their mother, unfortunately, is no longer alive. I believe she committed suicide, but their dad pretty much is like, it seems like he's always in a drunken space. He's like always drinking. He's always seemed like he's upset about something. The smallest things will tick him off, such as if for instance, in one scene, the son is eating cereal and he's slurping the milk too loud, or the daughter misses and drops something by accident, and he kind of gives it this look like he just doesn't like a lot of noise or whatever the case may be. Like I said, anything, the smallest thing will slightly just tick him off. But all of that is like it comes to a head when all of these kids start coming up missing. And what I noticed in the movie is that all the kids that end up coming missing happen to be male, like male boys. They just come up missing, like one behind the other, and they just get kidnapped by this guy driving this dark van that says abracadabra on it. He's masquerading himself as a magician. He's driving around with these black balloons. I guess this is a way to try to cover for himself of getting people or snatching kids up and putting them into a van. And the thing is, you never know what he's doing with these kids because you never see it from their point of view. You only see it from Finney's point of view when he ends up getting kidnapped by this individual. He kidnaps him, takes him back to his house, and has him in this kind of a dungeon where it's just a empty room, a mattress, and a black phone, hence the name of the movie, on the wall. And it's like you think the phone doesn't work, but all of a sudden Finney just starts getting calls. Like the phone just starts ringing out of nowhere. And he gets calls. At first, no one's talking to him. He hangs it up, and they keep calling and calling. And the people that's calling him are like the souls of the dead kids that this guy, this Ethan Hawke's character, kidnapped, because they're deceased now. And they're calling him and basically giving him pointers and trying to help him out so he can actually escape this man, because nobody has been able to get out of this guy's grasp without, of course, dying. Everyone up until that point has suffered the fate of dying from this individual, and they're just trying to find a way to get out of it. I said that's a creep factor in it itself, and I like that they went into a situation of telling a story, which I actually found out that this movie is actually an adaptation of a book or a short story called The Black Phone. And I like that they tell the story from a standpoint of what someone would most likely go through when they're in that position of being held captive or kidnapped by someone they don't know, someone who is crazy, someone who is psychotic. You don't know what it is that they're going to do to them, how they're going to torture them, and lastly, if they're going to survive. So I think one of the biggest messages of this movie is fighting to survive, because the Finney character, he was commonly picked on. He always had to have someone defend his battles, from a friend of his, even to the point where it was a point where he was getting jumped by these three bullies, and his sister had to come in and actually help him fight the battles for him. And even she was taking some hits. Like, if you see the movie, you'll see exactly what I mean. He's never been in a position where he's had to fight back, or uh, been in a position where he had to fight back and he could defend himself, because he's always had the dependence and help of others to help him out. And this is one of the times when he's all alone and he has to try to figure it out, even with a little bit of assistance from these spirits. And I may touch on that, in order to get himself out of the position that he is in order to not become victim number 6, because the killer already had 5. He already had 5. And Ethan Hawke is a very good actor. He's a very phenomenal actor. I don't think he gets the praise that he should. He really, like, the creep factor of him really scared me sometimes in some points in this movie. And I think it's mainly because of the way he delivered his dialogue, and the fact that that mask he had on, it added this level of mystery in the movie. For the most part, in the entire movie, he always had this mask on, and it was like a half on, half off mask. Like, sometimes he'll have a whole mask on, and then it was a part where he could take the top part of the mask off, where you just see his eyes and not his mouth, or you could see, or take the bottom part off and you would only see his eyes and not his, only see his mouth and not his eyes, or the top part of his face. Is like, what was we never really figured out what the mystery was as to why he didn't like wearing or showing his face. And I'm gonna get into that, because it's actually going to be one of my cons with the movie, because I do have some cons with the movie, on top of the movie actually being good. Another thing that I liked about this movie was the tone. It's like, in the beginning, it's a very light tone and everything like that. But once the Finney character gets, like, once actually one of the characters in the beginning of the movie gets kidnapped, but you don't see it, then that's when you start to see it starts to take a dark tone. And what I thought was interesting is that two characters in the movie that didn't have a big part, you saw that they were going to get kidnapped, but they fade to black before the kidnapping actually occurs. So you never know what happens to them. So it adds a level of mystery of what happened after these characters ended up being kidnapped. The only time you really see something like, I guess you could say, more into the kidnapping part was when the Finney character was kidnapped, because he's the focal point of the movie for the most part. He pretty much is the main character. And then that's when you start to dive a little bit deeper into what's going on. Where am I? Like, how is all of this actually going on? And how do I get out? How am I going to get back to my family? How am I going to, see the world outside? It's just crazy. It was even a part it was like an adrenaline rush in some of the parts of the movie. Like, one part where he's talking to one of the spirits and it's saying how to get out, and it involves a combination lock. I said that part's kind of scary, because the spirit wrote the combination on the wall. Well, one of the people that was down there carved into the wall what the combination was to the lock to get out of the house. But it's like, I think the numbers was 23317. So he was like, wait a minute, is the combination 2 33 1 and 7 2 33 17, or is it 23 3 17? So it's like, it could have, I said, it's only with 5 numbers there, but it could be a various amount of combinations. So knowing that he would have to get out of there and get past this guy to get to the door, to unscrew that lock and to get out of there. And then on top of that, he had this big dog inside of the closet that was almost like a guard dog. It's like I said, it's an adrenaline rush the entire time, that anytime you see that or you're in that house. And like I said, and also when you think about it, the phone, the black phone, in a way was a character in the movie, because the phone was communicating to him through the spirits, or the spirits was contacting him through the phone. So the phone acted almost like a medium for him to communicate through to those dead souls. But like I said, the movie is like one big adrenaline rush from like the time that he gets kidnapped going forward all the way to the end. Now, I did have some cons with the movie. One of the cons I had with the movie is with the sister. Now, with her character, she dreams. So she's able to see things in her dream, and sometimes like what she sees in her dream can actually come out. Now, that's not unusual, because some people have deja vu. Maybe they'll see something in a dream and then all of a sudden they see it in real life. It may not necessarily be the next day, or the next week, or it could be a year from now, or maybe further from now. I understand that because that has happened to me. But what they didn't do in the movies, they didn't explain how she got this ability. They kind of touched on it a little bit when she was having a conversation with her father, and he was saying that her mother had these same kind of dreams, and she ended up committing suicide because the dream started to take over her, or it started to cloud her mind to the point where she just couldn't deal with it anymore. But I wish they would have expounded more and told us, the audience, where did that ability come from? Like, how was this actually happening? Because now you're kind of diving into a supernatural element, which going into the movie, for some people, you may not expect that. Some people may not have expected this movie to have a supernatural element, which it did, which goes into my next con. How were these souls of these dead male teenagers were able to communicate to this boy through this phone? Like, how were they able to do that? Because it's almost like he was the only one that was able to talk to him. And I'm expecting some big plot twist or whatever the case may be, but how was he able to contact him through this phone that seemingly did not work? Like, that's the crazy part about it. The phone did work because it was ringing, because Ethan Hawke's character rigged the dungeon or wherever he was at to be soundproof. So while he was upstairs, there was no way that he was going to be able to hear the phone ringing, because he triggered his mind to tell him that phone did not work. But I believe he knew the phone worked, but he just didn't want to believe that it did work. I forgot what he said in the beginning of the movie, saying don't even try to use the phone because it doesn't work or something like that. But for the Finney character, the phone did work. But I just wanted to know, how were these souls, how were these dead souls able to contact this very much alive boy to give him pointers in order to how to get out of this house alive? And how, if he had, and if he came, if push came to shove, how was he going to fight his way out? Which he eventually had to do. He had to fight his way out of this situation. There was one other con that I did have with the movie, but I can't really think of it right now. But it was like a small little thing. It wasn't nothing really major or anything like that. But all in all, the movie was pretty decent. I'm actually glad that this movie I wasn't spoiled by anything about this movie. Like, I wasn't going to find out any, thing that was going to take me out of the movie or remove me from it. Like, oh, someone spoiled it for me, anything like that. And I think it's because I only saw one trailer for this movie, and that was the one trailer that they came out with months ago. So after seeing that one trailer, I didn't see anything else. It wasn't really heavily promoted like that, which in my case for this movie is a good thing. I'm glad that they didn't hit me over the head with a bunch of trailers to the point where I could figure out what it was. But like I said, I didn't really know they were going to dive deep into that supernatural realm the way that they kind of did. I thought it was going to be kind of grounded level, but I'll take what I can get. I actually did, take it in stride and say, okay, I can see how this would kind of work. But like I said, the main message of the movie is surviving. It's survival. How would you, if you was in that position, fight for your life to get out of a position like that? And like I said, it takes you in through a lens of what a person who most likely is in that position, because people get kidnapped every day, unfortunately, what they might actually go through as well. Some people are not that lucky. This is showing how some of the lucky ones are able to escape their captors, and some are lucky enough not to only escape their captors, but also take out their captors in the process. And that's pretty much all I can say about that. But this movie was actually pretty good. If you would like to go see it, please do. It's called The Black Phone. It came out today. I'm actually recording this on June 23rd. I got, see those day before the main release of the film. Pretty decent, solid film. I think the only actor that people will know in this movie, as far as familiarity, would be Ethan Hawke. But like I said, he plays villain and creepy really, really well. I think one of my other questions is, and I think I could probably answer it myself if you kind of use your imagination, is what was he doing to those boys that he kidnapped? Because some will say that he might have been molesting them before he killed them. And I think that might have been the case. But he didn't like completely allude to that, but you never know. Like I said, he gave off creep factor very well. And a lot of times when it comes to situations like that, a lot of them actually will do something like that before they actually go in for that final kill. But that's my review of The Black Phone. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you on the next one.